going to bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's going to be biblical.
Hello and welcome, lovely Patriots. And I want to say welcome back because Stu and I have been on a little hiatus for the last couple of weeks with Stu's trip over to the US for the first time and the Awakening Summit. But we're back, and we're back today with a wonderful guest, Lance Schuttler. We're going to kind of take some deep dives into health and wellness and hear all about what he's doing and what he has been doing. Stu, how you doing? How's it to be back in the UK?
It's nice to be home, but I want to be back again already. So it was a fantastic time. Thank you very much for your hospitality. Matt Geiger for the 4 days in the hotel. And, I had a brilliant time, met some wicked people, and we're one big, where we go, one we go all family, aren't we?
Yeah. How are you, sir? How are you, Lance? How you doing today?
Nice good, Elisa. Hey, Stu. I'm good. How about you two?
Great. Doing great. I'm comfy AF, watching everything unfold.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We are. So I want to just, for everybody that, all of our followers, I'm sure many of them are very familiar with you, but I'm going to just do a little bit of an intro about you and your background. So Lance Schuttler is the owner and CEO of Ascent Nutrition, a nutrition and wellness company with the mission of offering deeply transformative and helpful nutrients to as many people as possible and to help bring about a great collective shift in human consciousness and health. Having graduated from the University of Iowa with a degree in health science, Lance brings deep experience within the health and wellness fields, as well as rounded perspective of the nutraceutical industry. Lance has worked in the 3 major areas of this industry and saw many inefficiencies and shortcuts that were and still are being taken by many in this field. His passion for research, brain health, neurogenesis, nutrition, and biohacking led him to begin Ascent Nutrition, which sources rare and hard to find nutrients that can actually be felt by those using the products. It is Ascent Nutrition's mission to provide the most unique supplements and health solutions that nature has to offer. And a portion of profits are donated to holistic healing programs at certain crisis centers that help people and animals in their healing process from various forms of trauma. Wow. Wow. So when exactly did you start Ascent?
So I started it in 2020, but a lot of work went into it, leading up to that, of course, and it kind of began in 2008 when my father, he was taking an antidepressant, and he had never taken anything in his life like that. He was switched a few different times, and then in a matter of 5 or 6 months, he ended up taking his life. And so for me, that was where everything began in 2008. And kind of woke me up a little bit, not fully at the time, but kind of opened the door for me to start asking questions and start learning about what's actually going on in the pharmaceutical industry. And then that sort of just led to more and more, but the door opened at that time, not fully, but it cracked open and I started asking questions, and it was about 2 years later, and we can get into that stuff because it relates to AIDS and HIV and all sorts of, interesting things. But that's like what happened to begin to open things up for me.
Yeah.
So is it safe? Oh, go ahead.
I just want to ask you, because you've got two websites, SCHUTTLER.com and you've got your Ascent Nutrition. Now, I read your intro off your SCHUTTLER.com and all that, and I was very interested. It was a nice bio. To read more, turn the page, and it said online poker. So this is something that you really got into, that started thinking of. So what year was that?
Well, thanks for looking at that, Stu. That's great. The poker stuff. I began in middle school, actually. It was my 8th grade year. We were playing for real money online. And that kind of began my brain training, so to speak, on how to ask questions, how to discern, how to use logic and reason, but also intuition and gut feelings. And really kind of just honed my brain to think and think through things and think in levels and not just, one or two steps. Keeping a lot in mind, and really like both hemispheres of the brain, the mathematical, the analytical of the left, and then intuitive, more like gut feeling kind of stuff with the right hemisphere. So, I've written an article and I've spoken on this before where online poker really helped me to wake up and help set the stage for me to learn how to learn and learn how to think and ask questions.
Yeah, no, because that was amazing to hear. Because after, and I don't know what year it was, it's like I've had quite a long journey, but my actual in-depth research and putting information out to everyone started sort of after 9/11, a year or two after that. And I was playing a lot of poker online on Facebook at the time and stuff, but I also went with party poker and a few other things. But I didn't used to play for big money. I used to sit here playing free rolls. I remember I came second or third out of like 8,000 people one day. Now, it took me 10, 12 hours to play that tournament, but all the time you can sit there and you can read and you can do other bits of research while you're doing it. And yeah, it certainly helped me with my analytical thinking in all this.
Yes, absolutely. And it teaches patience and discipline. And like wading through things, basically kind of what we're in right now, waiting to see the big events take place publicly.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people out there about, why hasn't it happened yet? Why is nothing happening? Where are the US and stuff? I'll just go and watch the plan unfold. If you're paying as much attention as a lot of us are, you can see why it's happening this way. It's a spiritual awakening, and it has to be organic for the people who have to all get involved and do something themselves. You can't just, the military is not just going to come in and save everyone.
Right. It's funny. I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and they were saying, a Trump supporter, understanding what's going on. And they said, I just don't understand why Trump isn't saying more about the child trafficking. And I don't understand why he's not building awareness. And it's like, if you don't get that this is a military operation, and you don't get that this is 5D chess, you're going to ask questions like that. Like, it's obvious, he's using other people to say what he doesn't want to say. And it's just so much deeper. So that's what, in a way, even though it drives us crazy, it makes it like a game to kind of figure out, and to, be excited when we do see those breadcrumbs and those things that are happening. So what I wanted to ask you was, it's interesting that you said you launched everything in 2020.
Yeah.
So in the height of the craziness with COVID, or like right before you were planning, like how did that work?
Okay, so I'll build into that, Elisa. That's a great question. So 2008, the stuff with my father, and then 2 years later, that summer in 2010, I was taking an online physiology class, anatomy and physiology. It was broken down by 15 weeks, boring stuff like cardiovascular, immune system, nervous system, on and on. But right in the middle of it, and this was in the syllabus too, so we had, the expectation of it. It was week 8, Inventing the AIDS Virus, ? And we read this book, Inventing the AIDS Virus. and this was by Dr. Peter Duesberg. And then the foreword was written by Kerry Mullis. He invented the PCR test. He woke up a lot of people. We remember seeing his videos go viral, and that definitely helped wake up a lot of people. I thought more people would listen and wake up to that. Like, hey, the inventor of the test himself is saying, do not use this for convid. All of that. So that professor helped us, kind of like with the poker thing. He helped me, and I think he was trying to help certainly others to walk down the path of awakening and kind of seeing and make the connections, oneself. So he wasn't pushing any theories or anything like, Fauci's a criminal and, all this and that. Fauci's in the book and, plenty. But he was more so just laying out the path for us to walk down it if we wanted. And he had us ask questions and respond to questions he was asking. None of it felt uncomfortable or even like conspiratorial at the time. It just felt like, wow, this is an interesting topic, and why does no one know about this? So I chose the path of the red pill and went all the way. And I knew that it was going to definitely shift my life if I go in that direction, because I was 19, 20 at the time, and no one was around me really looking at the stuff that I knew of. And I just knew, though, that, okay, I have to go down this path and figure out what's going on, because it just made too much sense what this doctor in this book was laying out. All the facts and evidence were there, and they were asking very difficult questions that mainstream, do not want being asked. So I went down that path, started learning in the fall of 2011. By that time, this is about a year after this book, read it. I went down all the rabbit holes, all the stuff that we know about now, the kids stuff, the trafficking, all the satanic stuff, and became aware of what they've been doing to us. And in the fall of 2011, I came across a couple people, and I know that you both will recognize their names, and probably were reading them back then too. Benjamin Fulford and David Wilcock. They were talking about going back to 2010, 2011, that there's this big international military intelligence plan to take down the deep state and the cabal. So that was my first kind of exposure to that. And I, again, kind of went all in on that because I could see that things were happening. Silvio Berlusconi stepped down, former Italian prime minister. The French prime minister stepped down. This was in September, October of 2011. And so I said, all right, well, I'm going to just drop out of school, because this paper ain't going to mean anything here in a couple months or so. Once they arrest all these people and we get Nasara and they reset the system, and like, all right, great. Life's going to be awesome. Yeah. Like maybe a couple weeks at the most, but everything's about to change. And so I just stopped going to classes, and this is my last semester of my senior year of college, and banking on these people being arrested. December comes, nothing tangible happened, publicly at least, and that didn't play out. So, but my point kind of with that is, I tried taking a stand where I could to just go against the system and just pull out of the system, because the schooling wasn't any good. It was just being taught crap. There was some decent stuff, but I mean, we know it's all propaganda mostly. And really just, I felt like this was the right thing for me to do, and just step away from that system and bank on these people being arrested. Now, that has not publicly happened. I definitely believe privately a lot of them have been. Yeah. But we're, of course, waiting for the public evidence of that, and still going on. If someone would have told me back then, I know it's the same for both you two and everyone else listening, hey, this is all cool and great and it's real, but you're going to make it till May 5th of 2026 and you still aren't going to have seen one single meaningful arrest. Yeah. I'd be like, I don't know if I want to do this, but it's all God's plan. We're in it. We chose this path. It's good. I'm definitely more thankful that I know than not knowing. But we're all on the same page that this has definitely been a long grind, and really exciting the times that we are in, because you can see there's a lot going on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we said it many times that if they told us in 2017, 2018 Q drops that we'd be doing this almost 10 years later, how many of us would still? But that's the whole part of it. Part of it, we know Q has used us anons in certain ways to steer the narrative, and none of us regret being part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to say something because I was making notes when you were talking about that book, about AIDS. There's a book I read. I wish I could remember when. It was either the late 80s, maybe early 90s. It's called Double Cross. And have you ever read it? It's written by Sam, Sam Giancana, the mobster. If you've ever heard of his name, he was like involved during the Kennedy years, very powerful, Las Vegas, Chicago. Anyway, he had a nephew who had his namesake and wrote this book. A lot of stuff in there. However, the thing that always stood out to me was he said there was a deal that they had with the University of Chicago that would develop these I guess, pathogens or things that they used in those days, like especially the CIA. And one thing that they developed was a virus that disrupted and destroyed the immune system. Now, this is back in the 80s, it was around the time of AIDS. You know what I'm saying? It was just like a little sentence in the book. And I have never been able to get that out of my head, because at that time I wasn't awake as much to what, clearly what was going on. But I said, and there was some other things they spoke about, that, this one supposedly died of that, and this one So I think that, like, what, to your point, they've been telling us stuff for a very long time, but who are the ones that picked those crumbs and either socked it away or, like you, did something, by getting out of the system and trying to take a different path? So not a lot of people took those signs, right?
Yep. Yep. That's fascinating, Elisa. Yeah. And I mean, of course, imagine all the things they've developed that they haven't even released, dark things. And I'm sure a lot of that stuff has been permanently, dismantled and shut down, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, the COVID years, it would have been many times worse. And like, we all know that if Q had not stepped in, regardless of how long ago it has been, that situation would have been a lot worse. And, there's thoughts out there and people talk about how the cabal wanted to wait a little bit to do that, and that they were forced to act early. I follow that logic, but I don't think that the cabal was forced to act early. I think they've been all neutralized, and that this has been a Patriot plan the entire time, and that it wasn't like Trump got ahead of them. No, because to pull this whole thing off, you either have to have, you have to have full control, essentially, because they wouldn't have been able to do a lot of these things, and things that we just overlook and gloss over, small little things that we take for granted. The cabal would be blowing up all of those plans, all of those little details, throwing wrenches every way possible. And yes, we've seen false flags, we've seen things come up in these past 10 years, but for the most part it's been pretty like on a big level, like pretty peaceful. Yes, a lot of rioting and not peaceful stuff on the left, but you know what I'm saying, like on the grand level, they'd be blowing up countries, blowing up stadiums, bridges, everything possible to sow chaos. And so, I think, yeah, Patriots are in control, clearly, because they would have done, meaning the cabal, would have done a lot worse things in this previous time, including releasing biological weapons like you were talking about, Elisa, and they would have been doing many, many worse things than we've even seen.
Yeah, you're totally speaking our language, because Stu and I talk about this all the time, that how far back did this plan start? How far back was the cabal neutralized? How far back are the people that we think are bad maybe weren't bad, and they were playing a role? And it was like, how old is this movie? And we agree with you too, because you're not going to start telling people what you're doing if you're still doing it, or you're just finished doing it, right?
Oh,
Doesn't
exactly.
make sense.
Yeah, this plan's been going on for decades minimum. And would they have released the first Q drop if they hadn't already got things under control? Would they, to take down a worldwide global behemoth as they are, would they have jeopardized any of that mission by putting these Q drops out in the first place? Probably not.
Yeah, great point, still, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think even some of the go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like you were saying as well, they've released biological weapons, which is why a lot of us think the white hats are in control of the chemtrails. Because if the dark hats still in control of the chemtrails, they'd fill all the planes with poison and just take one pass over the earth, whatever shape it is, and just get rid of us all, wouldn't they? Surely.
Yeah, fully agree. And I think the chemtrail stuff and any sort of like poisons, it kind of I think it's kind of like a consciousness thing where we, the people, as humanity, we have to claim our sovereignty and independence and claim our freedom and claim our rights to health and happiness even more than we have, because we're just expecting these things, but we've had to go and fight for them and defend them and earn them. Life should not be that way per se, but this is the situation that we're in. And I think it's one of these things where it's sort of like you attract what you're putting out. And that's why I think some cities and some states and some places maybe are lower energy, not as awake. And so they're still attracting more of, let's say, the chemtrails, even if there's less amounts of harmful stuff in there. Who knows? But I think it's one of those things where there's pockets where it's not happening and where it is, and it's kind of based probably around a lot of things, but also around people's awareness and what we are claiming.
Yeah, it's very interesting too, because if you take that theory of yours, which I ascribe to, and you look at what's being said right now about income taxes, right? Like, we're looking at all this for many years. Many of us, have chosen not to, whatever the case may be. But it's not like we're going to turn around one day and they're going to go, okay, we're done. They want people to rise up and start to do research and understand. So you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, and you have pointing people in directions to look, to understand. So I agree with you. People have to make that stand and say, wait a minute, as opposed to Big Daddy Trump coming in and saving everyone, because then we're no better off than we were.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Elisa. And that particular 3-letter agency, there's a lot of interesting things going on with that. And I know you both saw, like, they have the made up fake position of CEO of that agency. And there's an article, and it's on senate.finance.gov, I believe, and it came out in March, and it was written by, Schumer, Warren, and Wyden. I mean,
Okay.
I think, they're
Allegedly.
all, they're all actors at this point, but they put out this article, and this was awesome, you guys. And I want to share this because it eliminates fear in people, and this is what we need. So they put out this article, and it's, an official .gov, and it was basically them on the left saying, like, we don't even have a commissioner of this agency. Scott Bessent made up this fake title, and they're literally saying in the article, they say fake 3 times.
Wow.
And so it's sort of like this guy that I've seen, he talks about it, and he said the only way to like eliminate the tax system is to do it quietly and underneath the noses of the entire tax industry. And so what's been going on, and this guy on X, his name's IRS Medic, he's been exposing a lot, and he was talking about this in this article. It talks about the top 28 positions in that agency since January of 2025, so just a little over a year, have all either been replaced or filled with acting heads of those departments. So there's no real commissioner right now, and that's on record. There's no actual real commissioner. The chief counsel for that agency his term, you get like 210 days because he's also acting right now. He was placed there also by the Treasury. So he wasn't even that part of that agency. His term as acting role expires here in 41 days. And so this tax attorney, IRS medic, he's talking about and asking and bringing up great questions. A lot of people are looking at it. Well, what authority, like outside of, we know it's not even constitutional, we know it's fraud and theft, just like outside of that aspect, like even in the cabal's own system, like you have to have an actual commissioner, and the commissioner has to then appoint the lead attorney basically for that agency. So there's not even been a nominee put forth to, be the commissioner. And so how is a non-existent, there's no one there, how are they going to even nominate the second role, which is basically the attorney? So that person's position expires June 16th. All the stuff going on, I'm bringing light to it because when I read that, like from that .gov article, like I could see it from the Q perspective and what we know of, okay, yes, they're just kicking the can until, whatever. But now there's, lawful things on the books where it's like, how can they even enforce what they're doing if they don't even have an actual head of that agency? Right. And now here, they're not going to have even the council to represent. I think it's just one of these things where, just like you said, Elisa, they're having us wake up to this stuff and claim our power back. Last note I'll say on this too, and then I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what's going on with that, is Trump has got this lawsuit against the IRS for $10 billion. And we know that, okay, so the argument on the left and the people who hate Trump, and you can see it all on X, is, see, look at this dictator. He's suing his own agency to steal from us, the taxpayers. He's going to steal $10 billion from us. No. That ain't going to happen, I don't think. Right. And if that happens, he's going to be giving all of us the money back that we've gotten. I think what he's going to do is show how, because their whole debate right now, this judge just put forth, they have to present things here in 15 days. And she's going to decide on it allegedly by May 27th. Basically, can the president sue his own agency that he governs? We know that's a fake and fraudulent and private criminal organization. And so my hope and prayer is that sort of stuff comes to a head and not just more can kicking, because we've waited long enough, especially on that stuff. Like, help the people financially, and you will get so many more people behind you, especially going in these midterms. I think something like that's coming. I'm praying for it because we all need help in these ways. But the point being is, all this stuff's coming to the head with that agency and that lawsuit of Trump against them. I think that's going to be, kind of shift the narrative in some ways, because I don't see Trump actually taking $10 billion from them, because that would be coming from us. Right. And I see it more of like, well, how about instead of you guys paying me, that money goes back to the taxpayers? And how about we end your fraudulent scam system at the same time? Something like that,
yeah. Well, I mean, Trump's also suing the BBC over here for 10 billion because they doctored 54 minutes out of his January 6th speech. And we know what the BBC doctoring is. They said he said drink bleach speech in 2020. We've been through all that. But I just want to say that we've discussed before that Trump is using these tariffs and these other things to get the money back to the people, and as sort of like a cover potentially for the executive orders he wrote, EO 13818, EO 13848, etc., about taking back the cabal's money for all this election interference and child trafficking and stuff as a cover. And ultimately it will be coming back to us, the people, in a certain thing. And I just want to say quickly that when you said earlier about certain places are being hit harder, because people need to man up and woman up and do. Elisa was overjoyed when Mandami got elected for New York. People going, oh my God. She's like, trust the plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. People need to see how bad it would get.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're still sleepy. They're
Yeah.
still, you know, so I mean, I do believe on a spiritual level that around 2012, you know, just from deep dives and intuition and that sort of stuff, that something major happened in our world, you know, just whether it was gamma rays or whatever the hell it was that helped to enable this great awakening that's happening. And I think, quite frankly, there has to be something else that's going to happen to get more people, because I don't know, there has to be some event, because until people are shaken a little bit, they're not going to come out of this slumber, this brainwashing, this spell that they're under, you know. So I think, in my opinion, something more has to happen to get more people over, you know, over the line. And you know, places like New York, you know, these places are they're so bad, and people are just sleepwalking, you know, that they defend, you know, they have Stockholm syndrome. I've gotten into fights with accountants and tax attorneys, like they're defending the system.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I understand that's how, like I always say to these people, this is your livelihood. I get it. But what if you taught people the opposite? People would be lined up.
Yep.
So it can't just be that they're afraid of their livelihood. They're afraid of understanding, like getting out of that mindset, you know, of what they were taught. And it's you know, it's frustrating. By the way, I just want to add something. I saw you for the first time on Catherine Edwards. You guys did a show together, but it was the one where you were doing about the DHA, which I
Yeah.
had some questions about. I do want to talk to you about that. And I went to see, well, you know, online. I spoke with Catherine because my cat, who was about a year and a half, and he was having a lot of issues with allergies, and they wanted to, you know, oh, it's asthma, and they had the albuterol and all that stuff that they were doing. And I spoke to her and I was like, I can't do this. Like, it's not going to be helpful for him over time. So we actually started giving him the algae oil.
Thank you, Lisa. That's
And
so
I
cool.
don't know, you know, again, is it a coincidence? But, you know, he, like, you know, knock on wood, he's great today. Now, was it
Wow.
something else in the house? Was it, I don't know, but it just seems interesting. And you know, so we take that in my house like humans, and that my kids won't, you know, they're like 19 and 22, like, oh, I do it taste. But the animals, like I put it, and they seem to, you know, I give it to my dog, I give it to the cats. But I do want to do a little bit of a dive into this idea of brain health. Stu, unless you have any other, like where we were, I thought I would love to hear more about that, because people are suffering, and you look around and, you know, between Alzheimer's and dementia and all this stuff, you know, there's a lot of people also with brain injuries. Like my fiance had an aneurysm back in 2004. He recovered, which is very rare. You know, he had to learn to talk and walk and the whole thing. But brain health is really something that they've attacked, right? This cabal, they've just come right after our brain with so many things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All of it. The 5G, the fluoride, the pesticides, the blue light, you know, all the different things for sure. So I'll kind of lead into that. Brain health and neurogenesis and neuroplasticity has definitely been a passion of mine, you know, going back to the stuff with my father and learning about the brain and the mind. Also in 2011, I watched the movie Limitless. That was, you know, pretty popular back at that time, and it was very inspiring, I think, for a lot of people. And for me, it kind of helped me definitely accelerate my awakening, because I knew, you know, it was a fiction movie, but that the concept of regenerating one's brain, and maybe not to the extent of what he was doing and how the movie portrayed, but certainly optimizing our brain and our mind and our life. And so that was very motivating for me. And so I started looking into neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, and what are things that I can do or consume that could, benefit me and do that. So I started learning about lion's mane mushroom at that time. That was like one of the first foods or nutraceuticals that I started taking to help with the brain. And started learning how it's actually doing that. And it does repair damaged neurons, connections to or it strengthens the connections between existing neurons. And so that was kind of like my foray into the brain and mindset and lifestyle and all of that. And, started waking up and started working in this nutraceutical field after I did end up graduating from college. I studied health science and saw that there's many great companies out there and there's a lot of information. It's hard to discern through what's good and bad and sift through all that. But I've been doing that since 2011, worked for different companies. I represented different companies in health food stores and things like that. And in 2020, it led to the point of me starting Ascent Nutrition because I had the passion for it. I gained a lot of knowledge around how to actually start a company, do it, build it, grow it, all of that, and source things the right way. That was the biggest thing, is making it clean and nutrient dense, because I've always been looking to put the best of the best into my body. And so then that just translated over into me starting this company to do the same for others.
That's beautiful. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of a little bit of a walking billboard for your company, because we take the I can't remember the new name, but it's the humic and fulvic acid. I think you rebranded it because it has more stuff. You could say the name of that new product, but we take that daily. As I said, the algae oil. It's just so important what you're doing for the brain, really.
Yeah, well, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. And yes, it's the Shilajit, which is comprised of an abundance of fulvic and humic acids, and those are so powerful for us. The fulvic, especially, so I created this company and put out products for everything that I just said, but also for these times that we've been in, and really still are in some ways, of the mass poisoning, and to help people who maybe were either forced or just out of reluctancy took, some injections of things, and just really try to get nutrients to people that can help. So the fulvic acid binds to heavy metals, it chelates them. It's a strong free radical scavenger, and so it can help to clean up cells and pull out toxins and detox big time. You can find all this stuff on PubMed as well. So it's, backed by good science, and just try to help people clear out the crap from our bodies. Even if we didn't take the shots, we're all poisoned in different ways. I mean, there's still at least doing some spraying. I mean, hopefully it's all just good stuff in there,
Right.
but who knows? Unless we're actually analyzing every batch and every day. But I definitely do think that there's good things happening with that, and it's becoming less. I mean, I've noticed it down here in Florida where I'm at. It's definitely less than it has been, but they're still doing it. Like I saw one clear as day 2 days ago. Yeah, and so that's why we want to get nutrients out there that help people. So pine needle extract as well, that's one, because of the shikimic acid. So shikimic acid is what Tamiflu is, but the pine needle extract that we've got, it's eastern white pines, naturally occurring in shikimic acid, and so it helps to support detoxing the blood and helps the brain, because shikimic acid helps to support the health of the myelin sheath, and that is the insulation or coating that wraps around the nerves. So we've got a lot of people taking the humic and fulvic, or the Shilajit, the pine needle extract, the pine pollen. That's nature's highest source of steroids, which are like plant hormones that mimic human hormone function. And just really trying to up level people's energy and detox at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I've said quite a few times that the people that were awake a long time before COVID, that were warning people about it, the thing we've done most over the last 6 years is learn about our health. None of us want to go to the doctor, go to a hospital. We'll distill in our water, take, I've got Shilajit and various vitamins, supplements, and all these sorts of things. And that's what we have to do for ourselves in this awakening. Well, to try and survive the end of it, hopefully. But I just want to go back, because you were talking about Dr. Carrie Mullis in the early days, and he wasn't really talking about Fauci that much. But in his last days, because he died suspiciously, didn't he, in 2019, he was talking about Fauci, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and he couldn't pick out a virus or whatever he said, whether virus exists. But, you know, he was explaining about this test. And what do you think about, well, he allegedly died. Maybe he was taken out by the White Hats potentially for this. But what do you think about Carrie Mullis's disappearance, and the fact that if we're in full control, what actually happened with this vaccine agenda? Because we've said that we think the White Hats, and if you watch the Devolve 5-part from Dauntless Dialogue, the White Hats were working on a military vaccine and saline, hydroxychloroquine, and all these sorts of things. But potentially they couldn't stop all of it going out in this dark hat plan, which is why we've seen a lot of suffering over these years from people that have had the jab.
Yeah, awesome question, Stu. So, a few things. I think it's possible that Carrie is still alive. I pray that he is, and I pray that he was taken in. It would make sense that he would be. But also, you know, things happen and people still pass over.
Right.
So I don't know, but I pray that he was taken in. It would make sense that he would be, given his role and importance and what he's done. Hopefully so. Dauntless Dialogue, Adam's awesome. He's done great work. And, you know, I think going with that whole situation on the vaccines and COVID and all of that, I lean towards like basically just what you said. And like you guys remember too, when Trump was in the Oval Office that one time, and he said Pfizer, and then Pfizer. And it was very clearly he was making the words distinctly different, in that he wasn't saying Pfizer the whole time. He was saying Pfizer. And I think part of that is, you know, a lot of complexities, but basically what you said, Stu, of military intelligence and potentially some of the harmful ones needed to go out. And again, I think this is more on the level of like the spiritual level of things beyond the earthly realm, in that maybe there's like, you know,
free will.
Yeah. Basically that they can't override the free will of people, because we know people lined up for them and did it with glee.
Yeah.
And it's, I think that kind of played into it, where it's like there's a certain portion of the population that is not going to do it and won't and will wake up, but you still have to do it to play out this whole scenario and show the people how sick and dark they were and are. But I think definitely there would have been many, many more people killed. I think there was probably saline vaccines or vaccines swapped out for sure. Because I think it would have been way worse. And I think they wanted to make it way worse than it was.
Yeah.
And we've also talked about, I don't know how you feel about this, Lance, but we've talked about that potentially, right? Because we don't know, that a lot of the damage that was done to us was prior to the military operation, right? Whether it was the flu shots, the shots that were given to our children, the boosters of all this other nonsense that people took through the years prior to the COVID jab. And so, you know, a lot of us also think perhaps a lot of the damage that could have been time released. You know, it's very interesting how throughout the last 50 years, 80 years, cancer's gone up, and, you know, all these other diseases. So how do you feel about maybe that it was all also part of the movie, but the damage and the detoxing that they wanted us to do was for what was already taken unbeknownst to us, even us truthers, not really. Like, I listened to my doctor when my kids were born. I was questioning. I got answers like, no, 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 no. Kids develop autism around the same time that the vet, right? And it didn't sound right to me. So I had them split things up but I still do it. Do I wish I could go back? Do I regret that? Do I not know if some of the issues my kids have here and there stem from that? I'm sure they do. I'm sure it was in my body and I passed it. Who the hell knows? But I think, what do you think about that? Maybe a lot of that was to minimize what already had happened, and maybe it really wasn't about the jab.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably part of it for sure, because yeah, we've been poisoned our whole life, all of us. And so there's a lot of work that we've all needed to do and continue to do. And yeah, just accelerate that side of things, the healing aspect. And, Trump putting out that video many months ago of the AI video of the med beds and all that. I think that they're real and I think that they're coming, but I think it's going to still be a little bit down the road because, again, we haven't even seen anyone actually really arrested. Like Comey got arrested, but not really. I think that's going to just get swept. I think what's going to happen, I don't even think Fauci's going to get indicted in the next week. And I'm not blackpilling. What I'm saying is I actually think it has to get a little bit worse. And trust me, I don't even want to be saying that because I thought we'd be in the golden age, well beyond all of this stuff, everything, all the scams would be done with and all that. But like the DOJ, like that, yes, it's a very serious thing what Comey did, but that's the least, honestly, of what he has done.
Yeah.
And I was listening to an interview with Sidney Powell yesterday, and I love listening to her and General Flynn and others who seem like they're, cued in on this stuff, because they aren't backing down on, okay, well, let's wait till the midterms and let's just get through the midterms. Like, I truly don't care at all about the midterms.
Yeah.
I care about seeing our elections fixed, because I personally don't have any interest in voting in them right now as it stands, because it's all rigged. All of these elections, our whole lives have been rigged, all of them. And so why would we just keep going along with the same crap? It's been 6 years since, the 2020 election, and we still don't have a fix in place. Like, what are we waiting for? So what I'm saying with General Flynn and Sidney Powell is their foot on the gas. And she was even saying just yesterday, like, this stuff has to go faster. Like, we cannot keep waiting. She said it's already too late. I don't think it is actually too late, but they have to force that issue of like the precipice, and I think we're getting there. My prayer is that they do actually do some meaningful things that are going to change our lives day to day before the midterms, and not just wait, because then it's like, well, you wait until January of 2027 before anything actually is put in place. We don't have 8 months, I don't think, to just keep going as usual and just keep seeing more indictments with no actual accountability. Just talk. All we're seeing is talk right now. And yes, I do believe all of it's been done privately and all that, but it's the human frustration of where we're at. Like, we are still, like, the average person, life has not gotten better for them in the past, year and a half or so. In some ways, yes, and I know that. But also just like big picture, what really has like massively improved in our lives. And again, I'm not putting down, I'm fully on board, 100% Patriot, 100% behind Trump and what they're doing, Team Q. And also, we have to keep putting the pressure and the gas on them, because they've got paychecks coming in. They've got a secure thing. They know when this is all going to take place. We don't. We have our necks on the line, doing these things, trying to end these scam, agencies and all that stuff. Throw us a bone. Let's go.
Yeah.
We need to see something.
Yeah.
people are being really pushed to the boiling point, aren't we? And people are screaming for arrest now. And General Flynn has been publicly stating we need arrest now for a month or two. I believe we're going to see General Flynn be someone taken out and input into a certain position. And I think Sidney Powell's coming back as well, whether she's going in the DOJ or anything, because she's JAG as well, isn't they? We've heard stories of her turning up at Gitmo in fatigues and stuff, and she's a warrior in this. I just want to quickly go back and just ask you about what you think about shedding, and then come straight back after that to what we're talking about now is, do you think this precipice moment, we're going to have some sort of scare event, banking collapse, whatever you think?
I think it's probably likely to have some sort of banking or some event in the banking system. I could see a sort of collapse, but I don't think it's gonna, it couldn't last too long. Right. I don't think, because that would create more chaos and panic. I mean, just think of your everyday person who's brainwashed into all this stuff. Yeah. They'd go, I mean, it would wake them up for sure in some ways, but it wouldn't wake them up to this whole plan. They'd be more concerned, like all of us, is, well, where's our money and how am I going to pay my bills? And I think that would create a lot of chaos that would be unmanageable and create a lot of different unknown scenarios that, military really wouldn't want to have popping up. I think it's probably likely that something's going to happen with it, but who knows what that looks like. I don't think there's going to be a 10 days of darkness across the planet. That would put everyone into survival mode. And I mean, you'd have neighbors doing things to neighbors that you wouldn't want to have done. Yeah. So I don't think that's happening, but definitely see something financial. I see some sort of, whether it's a fake nuke event or a false flag nuke type event, because that will get everyone's attention. And
it also is uniting too. You know what I mean? Banking and not having money puts you into fear and survival, and that you can hurt other people, right? Out of that desperation. But a nuke or that's going to pull humanity together, right? To want to help one another and get through it. Yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah. It's also interesting too, with the financial, I don't think it's an accident. I mean, there are no accidents, but you've got XRP, let's say it's just so controlled, you know what I mean? And you've got silver, it's so controlled. So to me, just from my, non-financial background, that's hey guys, come on, there's still time, they're letting us know there's still ways to build your wealth, and I don't think obviously there's a bigger picture to all this, but I do think they're giving people a chance to also get on the train a little bit, and be part of the new economic system. And I think people, people are, but I don't think it's the masses that maybe should be, right?
Look, if people are looking away with the child trafficking and things like that, they need to be jolted somehow, whether that's a fake alien invasion, a nuclear scare, the bank's going down at the same time, everyone flipping their lids, and then the EBS coming home, everyone stay at home. Now watch this for a little bit. We don't know how it's going to play out, but they've got to be jolted somehow, haven't they?
Yeah.
If they're just still walking about sleepwalking.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree, because if someone's not awake right now, I mean, again, we know it's all God's higher plan, and this is a spiritual thing unfolding. So it's not, everyone has their own life path and purpose. We know that, but on this 3D level, if they're not awake to things right now, what is it going to take to wake someone up? I mean, Q knows what they've been doing, and they know how to calculate these and the algorithms, and they can, I'm sure they've got super advanced technologies that can somehow quite literally monitor the awareness or consciousness or awakening of some sort of way. And I think there does have to be that scare event.
And I think you gave one of the best answers there about the vaccine agenda, and maybe some of it had to go out because it is spiritual. It's good versus evil, isn't it? And I always say it, I think the most important line in the key drops for me is you cannot tell people the truth. You have to show them. you know, and these whiteout alliance have had to make decisions. They knew they couldn't save everyone. There's going to be some collateral damage, but do you go down the route where you lose 95% of people, or do you go down the route where you save 90% of people and you might lose 5% of people? Tough decisions, but you've got to win the war.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're getting there. It's getting exciting. Just we naturally want to see more.
Oh yeah, rip the band-aid off now.
Yes,
do it all at once.
Yes,
you know, we're ready for it, certainly.
So I have a Q question for you. When did you start following, or was it at the beginning in 2017? Did you kind of, like, I wasn't there in 2017 with Q. It was around election time that, so 2020. What about you?
It was early November of 2017. I had a friend who I was speaking with. We were just catching up on the phone, and she's, aware of all this stuff too. She had a very interesting life, helping kids who were trafficked, and she's a really good person, and she was like genuinely helping. And then she learned firsthand, like, okay, once you get up to like certain levels of taking this to certain police or the FBI or agencies, it just goes away and they don't do a dang thing about it. And so she learned through, years of that stuff, that like helping kids and helping people, and then realizing, wow, like it's just they're the ones facilitating this whole thing. So we were talking about, just she brought it up, like, have you seen what this Q stuff is, or have you seen these posts? And I hadn't. I think it was the 3rd or 4th of March of November of 2017, and I hadn't. But then after the conversation, I went and looked, and I could tell, right away. I didn't know, what it was, but I could tell it was definitely intel, and whether it was misinformation or correct or disinfo or a combo, I could tell it was definitely like intelligence that was being dropped, and not just some person in grandma's basement.
Yeah.
Wow. So this friend, not to digress, is she still involved in that area of helping children?
Not directly, more indirectly. Yeah.
Okay.
And this person has exposed the cabal's symbolism and their ritualism, like fanatically, like how they use astrology and numerology and all the different things. Like, she's exposed them many times, and she's not like, she doesn't make predictions, not like that, but there were times when she would look at things like astrologically, because she's exposing how it's the P2 lodge within the Vatican, like the Black Masonic Lodge, whatever they want to name themselves, the Black magicians. They're the ones that have been actually, orchestrating all these events. And you guys know it, everyone listening knows too. They time all these rituals with the astrology and the numerology and things that are put out. Like, there's just so many things that she talked about and then would happen, and it was like, wow, these people are truly satanic and dark, and they're so fanatical with their ritualism. And that's, what Q said, their symbolism will be their downfall, and it is. Like, we can see through all of it now, or most of it.
Yeah.
But the point, like, she was waking people up, going back to like 2011, kind of exposing these people and what they were doing at the highest levels. And yeah, just all that. I'll share one example because it makes it real.
Yeah.
This was like in 2016, she was putting out this report and talking about how, based on some of the planets, there was a strong indication for something like a false flag basically to happen. And one of the planets was at, I don't remember what degree, it was in some sign, and it was at X degree. The Illuminati cabal have been fanatical with, like, you guys know, all their rituals and how they time things. And so there's 360 degrees, like in a circle, and 30 degrees in each zodiac sign. And the point that where this was at, there's like a energetic that symbolizes each of these points called the Sabian symbols. And this particular Sabian symbol was a school bus filled with children, da 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 da, something like that. And that day, in I think it was Afghanistan or Pakistan, the cabal blew up a school bus of kids, and like it happened, mainstream reported on it and all of that.
I remember
And
that.
yes, and she wasn't predicting it, but again, she knew their playbook, and so it's like you don't have to predict anything, you can just reveal it.
Yeah.
And sometimes things would happen, sometimes not, but this did, and that was one of the like shifts for me, like wow, like these people are truly, truly sick. And one of the Rothschilds put out a quote or a tweet that day or the day before, and it was basically about harvesting energy. Um, so sick. And like that's the stuff where like we know this, of course, but your average person doesn't. And that's what we're trying to get through to people. Like, hey, you guys, this is not even politics. It's not political corruption. It's that, but it's way, way, way more. And they're fanatical with this stuff.
It's
Yeah.
good against evil. Yeah, I always think of Juan O'Savin. He, one of the things he always says is, it doesn't matter if it's true or not true. It's what they believe. So as a result of that, that's what they do, and that's why it happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%. And even though I think he might have gone off the rails and a couple of the things he said lately, it was Benjamin Fulford where I first heard him talking well over a decade ago about the P2 Freemasonry Lodge and all these things. BenjaminFulford.net. I used to read his blog all the time.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome, Stu. Same here. And him and David Wilcock were the ones that would, it, provide relief for us on a weekly basis. Like, wow, when are we going to see something? And we get a little bit more, but it's like, yeah, it was cool that they put out all that info because they were the only two putting that stuff out at the time. Like, you remember it. We were getting, I mean, they were basically the only two. There's probably a few others, but they were the biggest two talking about this takedown.
yeah, I mean, obviously being from the UK, we got David Icke over here, but he never ever got on board with Trump. He never got on board with Q. He's still doing his thing. Whether he's playing a part in this movie, because what he does say is that ultimately, people, it's down to you. So that is very true in what he says. But he will not go to the Trump, and he will not take questions on Q. He always swerves these things. And the other person for me over there, whatever side he's on now, was Alex Jones. Those two people, along with Benjamin Fulford, David Wilcock, Drumbelow Melchizedek, and all these other people we used to listen to, have been a major, major part of my awakening. Although we gravitate to other people now and navigate, in different paths. It's amazing. Everyone's played some sort of part in this.
Yeah, yeah. That's so cool still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6,000 patents that they've hidden from us. What do you think about that? I mean, we understand the military's technology is far, far beyond us, but you can look at things like how the mobile phone has come on and we're still using the combustion engine. It doesn't make sense, does it? And I believe personally that there is so much goodness to come out to take us into the golden age that is already there, that has been hidden from us.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think some of those things will be released. I mean, hopefully all of them. They'll certainly do it in stages. But again, like, why are we still talking about these slave systems that we've got on this planet when we can power and liberate every person on this planet like that? That's where the frustration comes in naturally, because we know it's like we could be living in this Jetson age right now, but we're still like fighting over politics. I think it's coming, and I think part of it is going to come through Trump's company, True Social, what is it, Trump Media and Technology Group. They announced back in December a merger coming up here like next month with TAE. They are a fusion company, and they've been around for 25 years, top-notch scientists. I think that this is all part of the plan. They announced this back months ago, and Devin Nunes went on Maria Bartiromo, and he went on X22. This is like a couple months ago, talking about this and the upcoming merger. They weren't talking about cold fusion, but they were talking about fusion and unlimited clean energy. That's what that is. And in both of those interviews, in different ways, he brought up Trump's uncle being a brilliant physicist and said that, very specifically. And then in one of them, I don't remember, I think it was the X22 one, he went a little bit further. He didn't bring up Tesla, but we know that Trump's uncle was the guy who found Tesla's work and all of that. I think there's things going on with that stuff. And I think the TAE fusion technology, like merger, is part of the disclosure or rollout of advanced technologies. And I don't think it's necessarily going to happen in June or even July, hopefully, but we've just kind of gotten used to, like, some of these bigger things are going to take time. Like, even though we've been waiting endlessly amounts of time, it still seems like it'll probably be a little bit longer.
Yes. I mean, John Trump looks very much like Julian Assange, doesn't he? And then that brings in the conversation about time travel. And we've watched,
yes.
I don't know if you've watched Jetson White's documentary about Trump time travel and stuff, have you? But it is amazing. And potentially there's, how do Q know this? How do Q know that? Delta, all this sorts of stuff. I think time travel is something to certainly have a conversation about, whether a lot of people go, oh, that doesn't exist, you're an idiot,
Yeah. And then you think about General George Patton, which is a whole other little rabbit hole. But it's very interesting. And of course, this is just something that came to me when you were talking about the merger. It's very interesting how these scientists have gone missing. And when you dig into it, they didn't just go like within 2 days. You know what I mean? This has been over a period of time. Well, what better use for those brilliant minds, right? With some of these potential technologies and ways they're going to change the world, to be part of this, right? I mean, there's just so many people that you think about that have died, suicided, drug overdose, whatever the case may be. And then you look at like the team, if you will. And that goes for everyone, like the music industry, like a lot of these people were onto what was really going on and understanding. So I'm kind of thinking that there's a lot more to this for the, on the side of the white hats, that these people just pull them off the chessboard in some way or another, and then put them to work where it's going to help humanity.
Yep, I fully agree. And bring it on ASAP, please. We are asking for it. We've been demanding it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I heard this word this morning, a cataclysm, like a good cataclysm, like a string of events that are very positive, that are like, just like set off like a catalysm of good events. And my hope and prayer is that things start picking up fast. I know we're all hoping and praying for the same thing, but it's useful if we speak it into existence too and keep demanding it, because we are waiting in some ways, and we have to keep pushing forward and living our lives. Of course, it's meeting halfway, but still, we know these things exist. We are all children of God, and we deserve these basic rights and all of the truth. So I'm hoping that things really do start picking up fast. Like Sidney Powell was pressing on that. General Flynn, I loved what you said, Stu, and that's why I brought that up, because it's people like them two and others and us that are continuing to say, okay, cool, but who cares? Where are the arrests? We don't care about indictments anymore. We don't care about talk. Where are the arrests? If it was any of us doing any of that stuff, we would have been in prison for a decade now. Yeah.
We do want to see perp walks, don't we? Which is why we keep positive and manifesting it. But let me ask you a question here. And if we do get not a Comey indictment or something like that, we get a massive arrest. Number one, who do you think it's going to be? And number two, who would you like it to be? And don't forget as well, in the Q drops, 3716, 3717 were exactly the same drop. The first indictment unsealed, which shocked the world. The first arrest, I'm butchering that now, but they were exactly the same. So I've said potentially we might see two people at the same time because those two drops were identical.
Yeah, awesome question. So I've speculated for some time because like we've all asked the question, who's going to be the first big arrest? I've thought, and more recently, I've kind of changed it, not because I've wanted to, but just kind of the dynamics have shifted a little bit. But I thought, and maybe potentially, the Pope is the first arrest. It would make sense from different angles. It would get everyone's attention. It's a non-political arrest, but now why I've kind of been evaluating that is because of all the stuff going on in the past month or so with the Pope and Trump, in that, again, we know people who are brainwashed would just look at this and go, look, see, he is a dictator. He's now arresting the Pope, and they were just fighting. And I guarantee Trump had his hand in that. And so, like, optically, it kind of doesn't fit the best anymore, but it also does still fit. Of he's been at the top of this whole pyramid. We know, Godfather, Sum of All Fears, all the drops relating to that stuff, all the comms with Dan Scavino and all of it. So like, it does make sense that he would be, and maybe he's arrested, but like he wasn't there for the 2020 election. And so that's kind of what I was thinking with this former Pope, is he's maybe arrested on the election stuff that connects the dots for everyone on everything. But this more recent Pope doesn't really, at least publicly, have a hand in that. So I don't know. But I think that, I don't know if it's going to be Hillary or Obama. That still feels like it'd be a little too targeted, like from the unawake side point of view. But I hope they just start releasing the frazzle drip stuff and all the stuff, that Lauren Boebert was bringing up in those, fake testimonies going on with Hillary and Bill. Like, I think we're going to need to see some of that stuff for it to get real for people. Like, we need to see some sort of big event or like some of these really nasty things released. Not that we want to see them, but we have to, because that's the only way to wake people up. We know that's part of how we woke up, is choosing to look or listen to things that were very uncomfortable, and like, wow, coming to peace with that of, yes, this is actually happening, and now this is why we have to fight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I've always said, what's going to come out first? Is it the 2020 election? Like, I've said the truth will come out about that, which will lead us into COVID. But I've always personally wanted, because he's a smoke bastard, Obama to be the first arrest. However, that would shock a lot of people. But I think, especially with these two drops, and especially with the talk about COVID and Ron Johnson, so much information coming out, that if they arrested Fauci and potentially Bill Gates, right, at the same time now, that is going to have a massive, massive impact globally. So we've yet to see.
Yeah, because they're not like, people aren't tied to them emotionally, the way they are with like the Pope or even Obama and Hillary, right? That people really, but those two, just the fraud that would come out, right? Just from people would be like, wow. And I think there are a lot of people that have shifted their view on Fauci, that I saw it just in like my own local community, Fauci. And then all of a sudden, like, things coming out, why do we need a booster if the vaccine worked? And people started, but still that rabbit hole goes far and wide with the two of those guys. That would be really fun to watch.
Yeah, those are great I'll just say guesses, but they might be like 100% correct. And that would be because they're not political, like per se.
Yeah.
It's relating to people's health. They were cast out in the limelight for a long time. And yeah, I mean, there's only a certain number of people who would even be the first arrest or even will be arrested. And then you got to narrow it down of who does most people in the world know at this point. It's the Pope, Obama, Fauci, Bill Gates, and Hillary, basically.
Yeah.
You know, a few others, maybe there's some European leaders, but here in the US, no one knows any European leaders anymore. And I think it's got to be something that, yes, shocks the world and especially shocks us here in the US because, I mean, we've seen it now. Other countries have been liberated. Venezuelans are probably living in some ways, not entirely, and I know that in some ways, they have a more free country than we do right now. They've been liberated. We
Yeah.
have not. I mean, we know privately we have, but we still got taxes to deal with. We still got agencies running around doing their stuff, harassing people. All of that needs to end. So Fauci and Gates, please bring it on. Let's go. And that would make most sense at this point because they're not political.
Yeah.
No, and that was all the you're an anti-vaxxer and all the I trust the science mob. That would wake them up straight away, or
Yeah,
you start questioning things.
yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, it's probably one of them two or both.
That would
Because
be
the
Or
Pope,
both.
it does seem like the Pope is no longer fair game for the first arrest because
Yeah.
it would feel because no one knows, like your average person just believed what came out. It's like, yeah, Trump's trying to be Jesus and he's going after the Pope. Look, he's trying to create conflicts with a peaceful leader. People wouldn't get it quite yet. And I think stuff on video has to come out of that guy or something
Yeah.
because, yeah, like,
Certainly. And I mean, as soon as we start getting the first arrests, I think we're going to get arrest after that. Whether they've already been taken down and sitting in Gitmo and they're going to be let out for the day to be arrested, you know, publicly. But there's still 648,000 sealed indictments, and Pfizer and RICO, it's all connected. They're all connected. And that's what Trump's executive orders are all about.
Yeah. Someone in the chat just said, why are we waiting for arrests to happen when they already have? Because we in this community are aware of that, but the rest of the world, in order for them to start awakening and start questioning and maybe start going down their own rabbit holes, they need that physical shock. It needs to happen. We don't need it. We just want to watch the movie continue in a way that, but people, but people do need that, you know, because they buy into the narrative.
Yeah.
And they don't believe anything unless it's on the news. They just don't. We have that fight with people all the time. Well, if that was happening, it would be reported. Well, it is reported, but where are you looking for your news?
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
The mainstream media, I believe the White Hats are going to flip the switch at some stage, and it will be the mainstream media that start telling on ourselves, revealing all this information, and the people that watch the news won't have anywhere else to look anymore.
Yep, I fully agree. Like that I think how they have to do it, because when it's being shown on CNN and Fox and MSDNC, they won't be able to turn it off because it's going to be playing everywhere else too, and they're going to go, oh shit, they lied about everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think things they're just gonna get more and more absurd, so people can't look away anymore. I mean, look at this Artemis mission and this NASA stuff that's just happened. People are just picking the bones out of it. You know, we've got so many eyes on now. When JFK got shot, everyone bought the story, right? When Charlie Kirk got shot, people were going bullet angles, you know, all six and stuff like that, and this couldn't have happened, and that. Eyes are on everywhere.
Yep.
So tell us what's going forward. What's like on the horizon for your company and for what you're doing? What are we looking ahead towards?
Well, thank you, Lisa. just continuing to get good products out there and help people. We've got new products we're going to be launching, but the core ones that we've got, like we keep talking about them because they are so impactful. The pine pollen, the pine needle, the shilajit, more products to come, hopefully this summer or fall. And definitely as these agencies are liberated more, then we are able to speak more freely. Like you guys know it. Even though I definitely believe these agencies have been all captured by good people and they're being run at the top by good people, there's still hundreds of thousands of government employees who are still just doing their day job and nothing has changed for them. And they're still, living life as normal. So I think we need to see some of these agencies really dismantled and gutted and completely redone. A lot of the health ones, that's going to help all companies to be able to speak more freely, and just actually tell people what these products are doing and what natural health is about, because they still do censor us and all of that stuff for speaking these things, as you guys know. And then I think I'm very optimistic and encouraged by things that are happening, and hopefully with the new Fed chair, tangible things happen there. Again, we're all tired of the talk. We don't care anymore. We don't care. We know that the Fed is done and it's fraudulent, and now we see this new one coming in. Hopefully he does want to move forward on the Clarity Act and all of that. But who knows? It's possible, you guys, none of these bills, the Save America Act, the Clarity Act, these two big things that are on the docket right now, it's possible they don't ever get passed by this current Congress. And again, I'm not blackpilling. What I'm saying is I think it might build up again to where like the DOJ may not indict Fauci next week. I pray that they do. I hope that they do. But I think it might have to get so bad that it's shown to everyone even more. The DOJ isn't going to do a dang thing on anyone. And it has to be military courts, military that comes in and takes down the Supreme Court in a lawful way if there's, bad things happening there, which it certainly seems like there has been, and take down some of these agencies. But that's also like a tricky thing, because then it's like, well, Trump just got the military to step in and he just completely arrested everyone. And now we don't even have a DOJ and FBI and all of that. So I think kind of like what you said, Stu, like the mainstream media will be used in the end of this. They're going to completely flip in one moment and they're going to start telling the whole truth because they're controlled by the good people already. We know all of them are actors or acting, even the people on CNN and all of that. So hopefully some things tangibly financially, Trump's new currency, hopefully that's, actually going to be implemented on time and done in a way where it's not a Federal Reserve note. Mm-hmm. If that happens, then we know for sure, okay, Fed gone, IRS gone, all these other agencies, gonna get gutted.
Yeah, it is going to have to be done. It's almost like they have to play it the way they played the Epstein files. The people were demanding, people were out there screaming and yelling that they had to release it. I mean, they used the guys that Trump's in there, and well, it doesn't really matter how they get people to do that. But we know that Trump is one of the biggest bait. They use him as bait in so many ways to get people to react. So it may be the same thing when it comes to these arrests, and these agencies, as opposed to just lawfully going in and like, look what he did with Big Pharma. It was a press conference and these people are so great men, great women. And, and yes, and you're going to give what, the ridiculous numbers, right? Like $700 billion, like what a great guy. Like, it has to be done in this way so that people don't feel like they don't realize they're slaves already. But if they see something that makes it look like he's a dictator or the military is going to control them, ironically, they'll see that, So it has to be done very clandestine and psychologically you know, to get the point across, but not ignite people's fear in a way that's going to make them not have their sight on what's actually the facts.
Trump said in 2017, we are giving power back to you, the people. This is not a normal inauguration transition of from one establishment to the next. I can't remember what he said, but we're giving power back to you, the people. And have people stood up and taken it back yet? Not yet. A few of us, but not many.
Yeah.
So it'll get to a boiling point and things will happen, but we're all excited about it, aren't we? For sure.
Yeah. Let's bring it on faster.
Yeah. Did you I just want to ask you, did you say in a message to Elisa that I saw that you've done some work with RDS in the past?
Yeah.
Is that Robert David Steele?
Yeah.
Just want to talk about that because he's still done one of Elisa and I's favourite clip, make the deal, motherfucker, or you were going to die. Yeah. It was awesome when I saw that. My heart filled up when he said that.
Yep. Robert was and is, I say is, I don't think he's living. I say is as a soul. His soul lives on. I do believe he was poisoned and taken out maliciously.
Yeah.
But besides that, I was able to work with Robert for on and off for about 4 or 5 years, and it was awesome. I wrote an article kind of highlighting some work that he did. A different journalist for The Guardian wrote an article on Robert's work on open source intelligence, and they published it, I think in 2016, called The Open Source Revolution is Coming, and it will take down the 1%. And this journalist was talking about Robert's work and just highlighting different things. And I loved all of it. And I loved the fact that the Guardian published it, sort of like, you know, one of the only mainstream sources at that time revealing anything around this sort of topic. And so I highlighted that, wrote an article for The Mind Unleashed, and Robert saw it and, you know, reached out and just basically did a little ghost writing for him occasionally, or like some research. And then fast forward to that was in 2016. And then in 2019, I had told him that, Robert, I think you should be on YouTube and BitChute and other video platforms because people know you and we need to hear your message. People need to hear you. Just do short little videos, do interviews, do whatever you want to do, talk about your articles, and I guarantee it will work. And I was doing some YouTube like SEO kind of stuff. So I was learning the algorithm and all that. And so I just gave pointers to Robert on ideas for videos. We had to navigate the censorship starting at that time. So I was paying attention to keywords that people were getting flagged for and all that, and just tried to help Robert get his word out there to many people. So it's kind of behind the scenes for some of those times, and you know, saw some of the interviews in real time or near real time, which was awesome. And yeah, Robert was great. He was who we saw him as on video. That's who he was when the video would stop too. Just as fiery, just as also kind and a great man. He loved our country and loved what he did. And, you know, a patriot of the highest regard for sure. Definitely sad when he passed, and, you know, that whole situation.
Yeah. 100%. I used to watch him all the time, and many other people. He did a lot of work with Sasha Stone, didn't he? And Dr. Scott Young and Kirsten W. and, you know, other people who we lost. And it was amazing. And just because of that, I've just put him there as our outro video today. So I look forward to that. But yeah, Elisa, have you got anything else? I just want to basically, you know, Lance, where do you think this is all leading? Because we talk about the golden age, but in the very last Q drop, you know, it's talking about protecting your DNA and ascension. So where do you think we're ultimately going with all this?
Probably like interplanetary type travel and things like that. Things that I think are even hard to put language on right now.
Yeah.
I think just continuing to grow as a human species, and, you know, the ascension, I'm aware of that, and like different concepts around that word and what that might mean. it's hard to say exactly, but I think there's something to that for sure. And there's a reason that was the last word in the last post that's been made for like 3.5 years. Kind of crazy they haven't posted in 3.5 years. I wonder when the next one's coming, if there will be.
You know, obviously we're all seeing Q posting, but through other channels, you know, the Trump tweets, the Department of Labour and putting things out.
Yeah.
It's just coming from General Flynn and everywhere at the moment. But yeah, we'd all, I want my phone to go, UQ. Like,
yeah.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in the positive timeline for sure. And I think May and June are going to definitely, like, it's going to get picked up. The pace is going to get picked up.
Yeah.
I mean, they know they've got their pulse on everything. And if General Flynn and Sidney Powell and others are continuing to say, cool, but where's the arrest? Like, cool, awesome indictment, but we don't care. Where's the arrest? Like the fact that they're saying that and have continued to and really amp that up in the past like few months, that's encouraging for me, and I think everyone. So I think some sort of financial system, I don't know, like if reset's the right word, because I did bank on that. I thought there'd be a day where just, okay, everything flips and like it's now just all new. I don't even know if that's possible, just given all the different things that play in. I think it is in some ways, more like on a currency level. You know, I'm following the Iraq stuff too, and I know they've got a new prime minister, and you know, we keep hearing the same stuff on that too. Soon the banks are ready. Soon,
Tuesday,
soon.
Tomorrow morning.
Yes,
You can't even listen to it. It's the hydrocarbon law. You know, that was supposed to be passed what, like, I don't know, 2 years ago. Just every day.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of this is already in place. I mean, you could see it when you go to transfer your money or send like, it's like that, you know? And I don't know that there's going to be an announcement per se. I mean, you know, President Trump has said, you know, we're going to be #1 in crypto and all this stuff. And they're giving us all these breadcrumbs. But I think the best example I ever heard of this was from Simon Parks a while ago, when he gave this example, and it pissed me off when he said it because I wanted this big, you know, big loud announcement thing. He's like, listen, if you have a store that you're running and your manager is doing terrible things, does it make sense to tell all the employees, or do you quietly get rid of him, bring someone else in new, and things just go the way they've always been going? And so I think that could be an argument could be made for all these infrastructures that we have. They're probably all been infiltrated, changed, bad guys out, systems changed. I don't know that we're going to get this big, you know, like, hey, fellas, you know, I don't know if we're going to get that big announcement. Just seems like things are just going to, just like, you know, how other things happened. Like one day you were going to the bank to deposit your check, and then all of a sudden you had a bank card. And okay, so everybody started using bank cards, and older people didn't catch up as fast. And I think it's going to be one of those kind of things, like slow or methodical.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm hoping, I know you guys probably saw this with General Flynn. This is really encouraging. He said it a few times. He said, and he posed it as a question, but I think he's laying it out of what's coming. And this is what I'm hoping for too, which is, he said, should all taxpayers, should that be brought to an abrupt halt until he listed 3 things, until we figure out how much fraud is involved, get the money back to the people, and hold everyone involved accountable. And basically, I think that's what could happen, and that could be part of this sort of like reset, or as Q says, the music stops. I'm hoping the music stops immediately, and I think that's what it would be is, hey, we've got to put a pause on, let's say, taxes or this or that, multiple things, because there's so much fraud that we just have to figure it out, and taxpayers shouldn't be contributing to this fraud. Something like that. That would be tangible, in our face, obvious that this is going on. I mean, we know it's going on, but you know, something that's very tangible, and no one can deny it.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem with a very, very smooth transition, isn't it, that people wouldn't really know much about it, so it wouldn't give them that jolt and wake them up. Whereas if you had a financial banking collapse over a 3-day weekend, everyone was panicking, whether you put an EBS out to tell people what's going on, or everyone had 3 days to like that, and then you announced the new system at the end of it. So they've had their scare, but don't worry, it's all right. Might be a better way to do it. But
yeah,
whatever you do, just get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all ready, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just want to ask you one question, because I haven't been paying much attention to the chat, but Alison Brown did say, does Lance's product ship to the UK?
Not at the moment. We were doing that a couple years ago, but like you guys know, just there's a lot involved with that stuff and taxes and stuff, so it gets complicated. Like, it's all fine, but it ends up creating a lot of work, and it wasn't worth it for us at that moment a couple years ago. But we definitely want to turn that back on, and we will. It's just a matter of when, not a matter of if. So not at the moment, but just, you can sign up for the email list, and we'll let people know. But yeah, we ship in the US, ship to Canada, and definitely want to turn the UK and Europe back on as fast as we can.
Brilliant. So your two websites are
LanceSchuttler.com and GoAscentNutrition.com.
Perfect. Well, that's been brilliant, Lance. I've really enjoyed talking to you today. You are 100% one of us.
Yes, thank you, Stu, and you too, Elisa. Thank you both. This was awesome.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Really appreciate this.
Yeah, you're welcome on any time, especially if big things happen. I'd love to get you back on. Yes, Lance.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll share this too. I'm not going to go into the details, but there's two investigative stories that I'm working on, and God placed them in my lap. I wasn't even seeking them out. And they'll be worth talking about when the time is right, for sure, because they're not small things, and it's quite unbelievable. And I'm just merely helping. It's nothing to do with kids. Otherwise, I would have already blown the whistle and already shared, things with the appropriate authorities. But just things going on that we need to make sure people are held accountable.
Absolutely. Do you have a particular timeline that we could anticipate getting you back on, when you think some of this will be ready to talk about?
I wish. I thought it was going to be before now, just like thought we'd be well into the golden age of free of the let me just say then, if it does go down and you want somewhere to splurt the information out, you're more than welcome to come on our show. Yes, thank you, guys. I'll definitely let you know, because it is something that we will want to blast out everywhere. And what they've done to some people is beyond humiliating and beyond criminal. And so it will be our full pleasure to put the spotlight on every single one of them. And it will happen. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Beautiful. Exciting times. Yeah. Thank you, Lance, for coming on. That's brilliant. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Where we go, one we go, all people. Love, not fear. And we'll get there.
Yeah, God bless you, Lance, for what you're doing.
Thank you. God bless you too, Elisa. God bless you, Stu. God bless everyone in the chat. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Right, I'm just going to finish with a little bit of Robert. Take care, guys. See you soon.
We have it all. All of the illicit wealth in the world has been tracked by the National Security Agency for the past 15 years. We now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Wall Street has stolen $100 trillion from Main Street with naked short selling. We also know that Wall Street has laundered $100 trillion in dirty money from trafficking in children and women and drugs and guns and gold. I could never tire of saying that 90% of the people in the U.S. government, the U.S. military, the U.S. intelligence community are good people trapped in a bad system. The secret intelligence community serves the deep state. It does not serve the American public. And CIA in particular has been doing torture, rendition and torture, drone assassination, regime change, helping to start wars based on lies, all because war and trafficking in humans and drugs and so forth are a profit center for Wall Street and the deep state. And once the president gets Benny into NSA and processes 100% of what we have at NSA, we have every single one of you by the balls. You cannot survive this. You have one out. The Truth and Reconciliation out is make the deal, motherfucker, or you are going to die.